Live from KARD Fox 14 Studios, this is your local election headquarters with Decision 2024, the U.S. presidential election. Coverage sponsored by KO Realty Group.
Hello and thank you for watching Fox 14. I'm Nick Summer.
And I'm Kyla Scott. Welcome to our local election headquarters. Voters across the Ark-La-Miss cast their ballots on many different races today. We will have live team coverage of races such as the representatives for the 4th and 5th districts in Louisiana and representatives for the 1st and 4th districts in Arkansas.
We will also be joined by the director for the School of Behavioral and Social Sciences at ULM, Pearson Cross. But first, it's time for the country to pick a new president.
Yeah, that's right. And that's where we start tonight's coverage. Now, taking a look in Louisiana, here are some of your results. Here are your numbers. It appears that 66% of those votes are going to Donald Trump, 32% of those Kamala Harris.
And in Arkansas, we can see Trump getting 62% of the vote, while Harris getting 36% of that vote.
And moving on now to the Louisiana District 4 representative race between incumbent Mike Johnson and newcomer Joshua Morit. It looks like 86% of those votes go to Mike Johnson, 14% to Joshua Morit, and that's 47% of those precincts reporting.
And in Louisiana's 5th district, incumbent Julia Letlow is facing off against fellow Republican Vinnie Mendoza and Democrat Michael Vallian Jr. Currently, Letlow leads with 65% of the vote, Michael getting 25% and 10% to Vallian Jr.
And the leading candidate incumbent Julia Letlow is watching those results as they roll in down in Baton Rouge tonight.
That's where we find reporter Anna Conejo. Anna, how are things going there tonight?
Hey guys, well the energy is high and very positive as we are at the Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge for Julia Letlow's watch party. Now we're actually with Julia Letlow, who just gave us a speech a little bit, and as y'all said, she is leading in more than 60%. So what are your feelings right now?
Well, I'm just so overjoyed that the people would have me serve another term in Congress, from Bastrop to Bunkie to Bogalusa, now Baton Rouge, and any point in between. I am here to represent the people of the 5th District. It's an honor of a lifetime. I'm so excited to go back to Washington.
Now we are speaking to our sister station in Monroe. So how does that support make you feel?
Absolutely amazing. I was born and raised in Monroe, spent a lot of time there, so just excited to continue to represent North Louisiana. The district lines changed a little bit, so I'll be spending time in different parts of the state, but just so excited to be able to serve again.
Okay. Now, can you tell us a little bit about what your goals are as you get reelected?
Sure. So I serve on the Appropriations Committee, and I'm going to be up in Washington making sure that as many of your tax dollars come back to Louisiana where they belong. I'm the only House member to serve on appropriations, so that's where you'll find me up in D.C., making sure that we receive our fair share back in Louisiana.
Okay. And one more last message for voters?
Oh, I'm just so incredibly grateful. It's the honor of a lifetime to be able to serve in the 5th District. Thank you for having me back to choose someone, a single mom with 2 small kids. What an incredible opportunity for my children and for me. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Y'all heard it here first. The energy continues being really good. So I'm going to send it back to y'all for your local election headquarters. I'm Ana Conejo.
All right, thank you very much, Anna. Now moving over to Arkansas, the District 1 representative race could come down to a runoff next month. But right now, we have 71% of that vote in.
And in the 4th district, incumbent Bruce Westerman is taking on Democratic newcomer Rizzy Howard. Now it looks like 72% goes to Bruce Westerman. Rizzy trailing behind with 28% of those votes. It looks like half of those precincts are reporting.
Moving on now to the constitutional amendments on the ballot. We start in Louisiana, where voters will decide on one potential change.
Our Joel Massey is live at the Ouachita Parish Courthouse to explain what this amendment could mean for residents. Joel?
Kyla and Nick, I'm outside the Ouachita Parish Courthouse, where election workers have been steadily bringing in results ever since the polls closed. One such issue is the amendment that asks voters if they support a measure that would require revenue from offshore alternative energy sources to be used for coastal restoration. There are many outer continental shelf renewable energy sources such as wind, solar, tidal, wave, and other alternative energy sources. And a yes vote on the amendment would allow the federal money to be deposited in the Coastal Protection and Restoration Fund. That fund pays for risk reduction efforts such as levees and floodgates, diversions projects, wetlands creation, barrier island protection, and other projects aimed at safeguarding and rebuilding Louisiana's receding coast. If the amendment does not pass, the federal money from alternative energy would go into the state general fund, where it could be spent on anything. Those against the amendment point out that lawmakers are already limited by existing budget protections in the Constitution, and that further restrictions could force cuts to unprotected dollars such as health care and higher education. Live from the Ouachita Parish Courthouse, for your Ark-La-Miss news source, I'm Joel Massey.
All right, thank you very much, Joel. Now taking a look at the latest results, we have 72% voting yes on that amendment and 28% voting no.
Now, moving back to Arkansas, voters are casting ballots on 3 different amendments, but only 2 of them are actually being counted. Our Cindy Langston joins us now live from the Haywood Hotel in downtown El Dorado with more on these amendments and why the 3rd one is not being counted. Cindy?
Hello guys, from El Dorado. I'm at the Haywood in downtown El Dorado at a Democratic watch party where these guys are watching raptly for results to come in. In addition to local, state, and of course national races, voters in Arkansas are deciding on 2 issues in this race. Issue number 1 is in regards to the Arkansas lottery. Currently, the lottery scholarship money can only go toward 2 or 4-year scholarship funds in the state of Arkansas. If passed, the lottery funds would now be able to be applied for technical schools, and this has received widespread support and is expected to pass heartily. Now, issue 2, much more complicated. An approved issue 2 would essentially repeal the casino license in Pope County that was passed by voters statewide back in 2018. If approved, again, it would repeal that casino license and affect the future of any other casinos in the state of Arkansas. It would require a county vote by a special election. Much tighter issue. You've no doubt gotten emails, snail mails, even text messages on both sides in how to vote and in regards to how to vote. It will be a tight race. We'll wait to see how it shakes out here. Again, reporting live in El Dorado for your election headquarters, I'm Cindy Langston. Back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Cindy. One amendment, or on amendment number 1 and on amendment number 2, but what kind of impacts will this have on both states? Nick is sitting down with political analyst Pearson Cross to discuss those implications. Nick?
Thank you very much, Kyla, and thank you for joining us tonight, Mr. Cross. Sure. Now we'll start in Louisiana. What kind of impact do you think that amendment will have if it is passed?
Well, it'll provide more revenue for coastal restoration, and that's the big thing right now, because the BP settlements, the different kinds of settlements that the state is getting, will come to a close and are drawing to a close. So guaranteeing a continuing flow of revenue is a big deal.
Okay, definitely. Now moving over to Arkansas, do you think voters will benefit from more scholarships being funded by the lottery?
It's voters really like funding by the lottery. You know, they go, we get to be bad, but it'll go towards a good cause. Yeah. But in fact, usually the amount of funding is not very much. So there are more effective ways to fund it, but it always comes back.
Definitely. And what do you think about the Second Amendment change? Should voters around the state have a say on the casino licenses?
Lots of states do this differently. I don't really feel like voters are the right place to put this, just because it's fairly technical. So I would think that a board would probably be better. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And finally, what impact do you think young voters are having on this year's election, especially some of the voters might be the first time voting in an election?
There's an enormous enthusiasm for voting this time around. Young people are coming out in droves, and I think we're going to see when the numbers are done after this election that, frankly, young voters have really surpassed all expectations.
Definitely. All right, thank you, Dr. Cross. We appreciate your time. All right, we'll send it now to our Jade Maloney and Maya Holloway, who are at ULM talking to students about the election. Jade and Maya, how's it going?
I'll project my voice too. That's right, guys. Tonight we are here at ULM for their election watch party, where many young voters are saying that social media played an extremely vital role in this year's election.
That's right, and we are here with third-year student Lizzie Moon, and she's going to be giving us some insight on the topic. So, Lizzie, how do you think social media has affected young voters this election season?
So I really think that social media has polarized young voters. I think that people just see Democrat and Republican and they forget that at the end of the day we're all American. And I'm very grateful for the right to practice democracy and practice free speech. And, you know, I'm glad that I get to have my own opinion and that the person next to me doesn't have to share the same opinion as me.
All right, well, thanks, Lizzie. Well, we will be here all night at ULM, keeping you guys up to date at this watch party. Reporting live at the University of Louisiana Monroe for your local election headquarters, I'm Jade Maloney.
And I'm Maya Holloway. Sending things back to you guys in the studio.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have the latest results from Arkansas's statewide races.
But first, here are more results from some of the local races in our area. We'll be right back.
This is your local election headquarters with Decision 2024, the U.S. presidential election. Coverage sponsored by KO Realty Group.
Welcome back to your local election headquarters. Let's get right back to those numbers.
In the race for Arkansas State Treasurer, we have 50% of that precinct voting in, 65% of the vote going to John Thurston, 31% of the vote going to John Pagan, and only 4% going to Michael Paco. And now let's check on the state representatives in Arkansas in District 94. We have 0% of voting in that precinct, so currently it's 0-0 right now.
And moving over to District 96 in Arkansas for state representative, we have 78% of those votes going to Sonia Barker, 22% to Robin Roark. 28% of those precincts are reporting. In District 97, we have Matthew Shepard leading at 64% and Odell Carr trailing with 36% of the vote.
And in the Arkansas State Senate 1st District, we have 79% of the vote going to Ben Gilmore, 21% of the vote going to Asher Williams. About 48% of the votes for that precinct are in.
And rounding out the statewide races in Arkansas, the decision on who will be the Chief of Justice for the state Supreme Court, it looks like Karen Baker is leading 52% of those votes. She's leading by 18,737 of those votes. Trailing really close behind, we have Rhonda Wood with 48% of those votes.
Stay tuned to your local election headquarters. We'll take a look at the local mayor's races right after the break.
This is your local election headquarters with Decision 2024, the U.S. presidential election. Coverage sponsored by KO Realty Group.
Welcome back to your local election headquarters. Now let's check in on the local mayor's races in our area.
We'll start in Concordia Parish. There are residents in the village of Ridgecrest that will be deciding on a new mayor. Moving in the village of Ridgecrest, it looks like 61% of the votes are going to Connie Adair, 39% trailing behind Veller Carroll. Looks like 100% of those precincts are reporting, so it looks like Connie Adair will be the mayor. Moving over to Jackson Parish now, Eris will be selecting a new mayor after the previous one was arrested for malfeasance in office. And it looks like Julie Grider has 85% of those votes, 100 of the precincts reporting, so that means that she will now be the mayor of the village of Eris.
And in Tensas Parish, the town of Newellton will also be selecting a new mayor. We have 100% of those votes in, and it looks like Frankie Robinson will win that with 69% of the vote. Calvin Ransom falling behind with only 31% of that vote. And staying in Tensas, the town of St. Joseph will decide between two Democratic candidates. Carl Odds with 61% of the vote, beating out Wanda Bowman with 39% of the vote. 100% of those votes in that precinct are in.
And rounding out our local mayor races, the town of Farmerville must decide between the incumbent mayor and the Democratic challenger, John Crow. It looks like he is going to take that seat in Farmerville with 63% of those votes. It looks like 100% of those precincts reporting. Jerome Nations trailing far behind with 37% of those votes. And coming up next, our Haley Hines will join us live here in the studio.
She'll have reaction from local voters now that the polls have closed. Stay with us.
This is your local election headquarters with Decision 2024, the U.S. presidential election. Coverage sponsored by KO Realty Group.
Election day has been long awaited, and many with a razor-thin race. There have been mixed feelings from voters.
Fox 14's Haley Hines joins us live in the studio with insight on how people are feeling about today. Haley?
That's right. Over the past few months, there has been talk about election burnout due to the constant stream of campaigning, excitement for new leadership, or even anxiety related to uncertainty of who will take office.
I'm just glad it's here today. You know, I think that as far as the country goes, you know, we're really just needing some unity. I mean, we've been for so many months, you know, actually for the last year, it's just been, you know, back and forth, and I'm just really ready for whatever the resolution is. I'm ready for it to come to that, you know, and so that we can just start moving forward, whether it's, you know, whoever is elected. I just believe we should get behind if it's your candidate or not your candidate, but let's just, as a country, let's get behind whoever our leader is. Let's move forward. Let's put our differences aside, and let's just make make this a better country.
I'm anxious, very anxious.
Every year the election has brought so much anxiety to me because it's a big day, but today I told God, you know what, you're gonna do what you want to do. It's in your hands. You know what's best. You have a will, you have a plan, and I'm putting it in your hands. I had a great day today. Was not anxious. We love that. So I'm great. Whatever God wants is what is going to happen.
I do feel like this could either be history in the making or it could be history repeating itself, and that's just how I feel about it. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to get it, but like she said, and I second it, whoever gets in there, God's going to put in there himself. So there's that.
I'm glad it's over. You know, it's finally here.
We love being a part of the community in any way that we can. We were hoping that being out here would help the lines be a little bit more bearable if there is a line, and just put a smile on people's face and hopefully give them some ease in this voting time.
The overall consensus from voters was that many were excited and anxious for tonight, but very thankful that this day had finally come. Reporting live in the studio for your local election headquarters, I'm Haley Hines.
All right, thank you so very much, Haley.
We'll be right back after this break.
Live from KARD Fox 14 Studios, this is your local election headquarters with Decision 2024, the U.S. presidential election. Coverage sponsored by KO Realty Group.
Hello and thanks for watching Fox 14. I'm Nick Summer.
And I'm Kyla Scott. Welcome back to your local election headquarters. Let's get right to the update on the presidential races in Louisiana and in Arkansas. Now in Louisiana, for that presidential race, 64% of those votes are going to Donald Trump, 34% to Kamala Harris, with 78% of the precincts in the state reporting. And in Arkansas, it looks like 64% going to Donald Trump, 34% to Kamala Harris, with 71% of the precincts in the state reporting. And moving on now to the Louisiana District 4 representative race between incumbent Mike Johnson and newcomer Joshua Morit. It looks like incumbent Mike Johnson is taking the win. At this point, all precincts have not reported. 88% of those, only 14% going to Joshua Morit, following behind.
And in Louisiana's 5th District, incumbent Julia Letlow is facing off against fellow Republican Vinnie Mendoza and Democrat Michael Valian Jr. Currently, we have 91% of the vote in, 63% going to Julia, with 26% of the votes going to Michael Valian Jr. and only 11% going to Vinnie Mendoza.
Now moving up to Arkansas, the District 1 representative race could come down to a runoff next month. And right now it looks like 72% going to Rick Crawford, 25% to Rodney Govins, with Steve Parsons out of the race. So it looks like there will be a runoff between Rick Crawford and Rodney Govins. But of course, only 55% of the precincts have been reported.
And in the 4th District, incumbent Bruce Westerman is taking on Democratic newcomer Rizzy Howard. As of right now, Bruce Westerman has 72% of that vote, while Rizzy Howard has 28%. 61% of the votes are in for that precinct.
Now let's check in on those constitutional amendments in Louisiana and in Arkansas. For Amendment 1 in Louisiana, that constitutional amendment looks like voters are saying yes, 72% of those votes, no 28%, with 79% of the precincts reporting.
And on Amendment number 1, Amendment number 2, it looks like voters are saying yes, with 90% of the votes going to yes and 10% going to no, with about 65% of the votes in. And we'll check back in with our live reporters after the break.
But first, here are more results from some of the local races in our area. We'll be right back.
Election Headquarters with Decision 2024, the U.S. presidential election. Coverage sponsored by KO Realty Group.
Right now, we are sending things back to our Jade Maloney and Maya Holloway at the ULM watch party to see what young voters are thinking of the current results.
Jade and Maya, how are things going?
Guys, we are here at the ULM watch party, which is being hosted by the Political Science Department. And as you can see behind us, students are continuing to stay locked in as election results continue to update.
That's right, and the energy is just so high here as these results continue to roll in, and we are just so excited to be here. And many students have been telling us that social media played a very vital role in this election.
That's right, Jaden. Many students are telling us that the most prominent platforms are TikTok or Instagram. They say that they're keeping up to date through candidates themselves and even social media influencers. They are keeping up to date on topics such as policies and amendments that may end up on the ballot.
Yes, and the ULM Political Science Department has just provided a very interactive way for students to get involved here and just really provided a gateway into political education as a whole. Reporting live at the University of Louisiana Monroe for your local election headquarters, I'm Jade Maloney.
And I'm Maya Holloway, sending things back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Jaden and Maya.
And after the break, we'll sit down with our political analyst to break down the latest electoral college counts. Stay with us.
This is your local election headquarters with Decision 2024, the U.S. presidential election. Coverage sponsored by KO Realty Group.
Welcome back. As you can see, we have a guest. We're joined by Dr. Pearson Cross with the ULM School of Behavioral and Natural Social Sciences.
That's right, and let's take a look at the latest Electoral College count. Now, Dr. Cross, can you explain the Electoral College for those who may not know what part it plays in our election and maybe for some first-time voters?
Well, it's crucial. It's been around for a really long time, and what it does is essentially says that every state has a certain number of votes, and those votes are determined by the number of representatives and senators. So, for example, Louisiana has 8 total votes because we have 6 representatives and 2 senators. So to win those 8 votes, you have to win a majority in Louisiana. So spread that out across the country. That means that every state has a set number of votes, and if you add them all together, once you get to 270, you elect a president.
All right.
There we go. Now, what is the difference? I know a lot of people ask this sometimes between the Electoral College and then the popular vote.
Yeah.
Well, there is a difference, and the Electoral College and the popular vote don't match. On 4 different occasions, we've elected a president who didn't win the popular vote. So if you win, you can win 270 votes without winning the Electoral College, without winning the popular vote, because you can run up big totals in California or New York or so on, and then if you win elsewhere by tight margins, then there can be a discrepancy. So last time around, Biden won by nearly 7 million votes, but it was very tight in the Electoral College. And then, of course, in 2016, when Donald Trump broke through, he didn't win the popular vote. So it's happened.
Yeah.
Definitely. And how big of an impact do you think the young voters are going to have on this election?
Well, of course, we won't know until we do till we get all the data in, but it looks right now like young voters are going to be a huge part of this election, and enthusiasm of young voters, and it's kind of a changing of the guard in a way. So the young voters are coming into their own.
Yeah, glad to see it. You know, everyone exercising the right.
Right. Yes.
For our illicit party.
Absolutely.
All of the election excitement.
For sure. All right, Dr. Cross, we appreciate your time tonight very much.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
Thank you so very much. We'll be right back. Keep it here.
This is your local election headquarters with Decision 2024, the U.S. presidential election. Coverage sponsored by KO Realty Group.
That will wrap up our coverage for the 2024 presidential election here on Fox 14.
But the coverage will continue over on NBC 10 starting at 10, which is actually just in a few moments. Tune in for the latest results.